Introducing your hosts from Collingwood, Ontario, Canada, Jack Edwards, and his partner from Dallas, Texas, by way of Port Arthur, Texas, Big George. Together, they are the North-South Connection.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 5 Count. I'm Jack Edwards alongside
Big George, of course. Big George
in Texas.
How y'all feeling?
How are you doing, George? Yeah, how's everyone doing? How are you doing? How's Texas?
Texas is just as hot as it needs to be. So I think tonight is one of those nights where
probably
you
too
have
hot.
a lot of energy in the air. Like Texas feels really
Yeah.
good tonight. It's like 80-something degrees at night in Texas. So hey, why not? I think that's pretty
Yeah,
normal.
I don't know what it is here, but it's nice outside. It is nice outside. So
yeah, no,
can't complain. It's a good night. It's a good night to talk wrestling. We missed last week. I was sick. Both of us were kind of sick.
Mm-hmm.
So we're back in business now, and we're talking cool heels. The heel run continues, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you watching. And we're going to talk about the cool heels because I think this is a different section. Because there are a lot of, when we've been doing this, we've been trying to feature some guys and men and women who don't get that shine all the time. And so we kind of, I put off some people with the cool heels, but you call this show the heel. I put cool heels, but the heels you can't. They're just too cool to hate.
Too cool to hate.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people who we were looking at oh, why haven't you put these people on the list? Because they were just too goddamn cool to just say they was just a regular old heel. Some of these heels have so much personality, so many, great one-liners. I mean, sometimes a heel can just say anything and it becomes his hook for 6 months simply because he said it in the way he said it. And it's that's not a good guy, but at the same time, you definitely got to give him his respects as the perfect bad guy to actually be in that situation. Of course, this guy, you got to have that energy, you got to have that feel, you got to have that look. And sometimes people just got that look that makes it look, cool to be bad. So we're going to discuss those guys tonight. We're going to do a lovely top 5, put it together and see who the top 5 is. But of course, we're also going to make sure that you know who our honorable mentions are, because that's starting to become very, very important throughout the week. Some of you guys are getting upset that our honorable mentions ain't making the list. And it's the reason why they didn't make the list and they made honorable mentions. But at the same time, we definitely want to make sure you guys know that this is a part of the list as well. That's very, very important, that these lists are compiled of actual wrestlers, like we say, that are not always getting the shine. Now, of course, there's going to be some people on this list that you just obviously know. But at the same time, there might be some people on this list that you haven't heard about in a while. So we're going to give a little bit of credit to where everything is due at this particular point. So we want to make sure you guys have every bit of the cool heels to kind of, he was cool. He was cool. Yeah, I like him. Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all, you're going to say that a couple times. So get ready to kind of lock in. But, John, you said to me that you have a pick that's a little bit of a wild card here, and I'm gonna let you get to that in a minute. But of course, I'm because I'm curious. Whatever comes out this man's mouth is probably gonna be something that I'm probably but his career is about as long as my life, and at the end of the day, it always ends up being somebody. So I'm curious to see who you bring in as your first pick.
I'm ready.
I would, rip right into it. Let's go. Who you got first?
Okay, we're gonna. The guy I got first, I thought about it, and I'm like, to me, he's the first one. Is superstar Billy Graham. He was obviously he's from the 70s, but if you look back on the history of the WWE, he was the first actual semi-long-term heel champion in that company. And they were starting to turn him babyface. If you watch his documentary, they started to turn him babyface because he was fucking awesome. Really, he was yoked to the gills. Nobody looked like that dude at that time. Nobody did. He paid the price though. I mean, he was on the sauce for sure. He looked amazing and he could talk like nobody's business. I mean, but watch the match he had with Ivan Putski. There's a match he had with Putski, and you can find it on the internet. And he goes off the ropes, and Putski hits him with a Polish hammer, and Superstar takes this big, huge bump, and the place goes ridiculous. He was really good, but he was like he inspired a bunch of guys to become like Jesse Ventura is the guy he inspired. I mean, he was cool at that time. He was hip. He was with the times, and he's not a guy that gets talked about a ton because he's kind of been up and down different parts. But I mean, but in terms of talent, in terms of cool heels, I was like, you got to include him. Like he was the first one, and he was the originator, and he was legitimately like decades ahead of his time. Like,
Absolutely.
he could have been like, that they could have ran with him, and he would have drawn money after money. Like they might have had like he could have been if he had. Plus, we had personal problems and stuff, but he could have been. He was kind of a little Hogan before Hogan, right? In terms of the swag and the talk, and bigger than life. He was that. He was but he was cool, and not a racist apparently. So that's also good too. But like, I gotta put Superstar on the list as the cool heel because he's to me. He was one of the guys who started off. So that's my pick. That was the one I came up with. I'm like,
okay.
Yeah.
Look, Superstar Billy Graham ain't a bad pick. I think that's one of the people that's like kind of slept on throughout history as far as, it's one of those kind of picks that you kind of look at and say, all right, why did you pick him? Well, if you're really looking at it, like everybody has a time where they come in and you honestly can't help when you come in. Some people come in when John Cena came in. Some people came in when Hulk Hogan came in. And that's kind of where he kind of lied. It's just like if you came in when Hulk Hogan came in, everybody thinks you're a knockoff of that. And so if you get your own persona, if you get your own, feel to the streets, I think that everybody kind of clings to you a certain way. So it kind of makes or breaks your heel or, your heel or face run. But a lot of times when we have these heel runs, some people just look at him as, oh, he's just shitting on the next man. And sometimes it's just like you got to have that swagger. That kind of walks into my next pick. Well, my first pick. My first pick as far as a heel, and he was pretty cool. Like, as much as people hated him, he was just that fucking good. JBL was one of the wildest spins on a heel to me that I ever seen in my life. He was one of the most loved and most hated in my mind. And I'm gonna tell you why I put him here.
I don't think he's a cool heel. I think he was a real heel.
He was a cool heel. Like if you didn't like him, that's your fault. But
I thought he was amazing. But like I'm looking at some other guys on this list, and this is going to be the ones where we talk about more of the bigger names. Mm-hmm. But I mean, everything can change. But I love the guy. I thought he was fucking awesome.
Was the best.
But he never turned babyface at all. He was the fucking
No, he was in my mind. He was always a cool heel because even when he was with the Acolytes, everybody loved him and Farouk together. Even when he was in the
Yeah, but he wasn't a heel then. When he was with Farouk, he was ultimately became a baby. That's when he became a babyface. But are you talking about like JBL
Ministry of Darkness
overall
before they became? So
you're not just talking about JBL like
I'm talking about that. You're talking about character. Period. Most of his run was a heel run. He had no babyface run at all.
Well, APA. When he was with the APA,
APA. I'll give him that. But other than that, I mean,
but you could argue they started as heels.
They started as cool heels. So they was actually
you could argue the APA could be there.
One of the coolest heels. Look. You're proving my point more than I actually have to. I'm just saying.
It's argued. I think I was looking for the kind of the time because JBL to run like if we're not talking about JBL Horns fucking because he was a real heel. People fucking hated him. He was so smug. But like I think that's a Texas thing. It might be a Texas thing. I didn't think he was snobbish at all. I thought he was just real Texas about the shit. Like, to be honest, you come out there with a cowboy hat, everybody knows who you are in the room. You a big dude, you roll up in a motherfucking limo with some bull horns on it. That's some Texas shit for your ass. So I might be a little biased here. Anyway, but what if we change it and maybe put the APA? Or do you just want JBL?
I'll take the APA because Farouk did help out that run as far as the dominance of the group. And, you can say JBL was more of the vocal attitude. So I'll definitely
Yeah.
put the APA as a package in there. But Bradshaw deserves to be on this list in some way, form, or fashion, whether it be Bradshaw, JBL, or in the APA alliance.
Okay, so here's my question, because I love that. I love the APA and I love that pick. But like, when I think of the cool heels that we might talk about, like, are we like? I'll make my next pick. I think, but there's three others on this list that maybe I don't know. I don't care what. We're gonna do whatever. But I gotta pick Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Absolutely, you do.
Because you can't have a cool heel list. He's the coolest of the cool heels. Like, he was such a badass and so different for the, like, I remember I watched on pay-per-view when he did the promo. Like, and nobody was watching really. Like, that was just nobody. Like, it was WWF was so cartoon. I'd watch whatever. I didn't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
But like, when he said nobody said ass, it's like, oh, and he looked different, and I knew who he was. Like, I knew he was from WCW. I was like, this guy changed his shit. But like, he was the coolest heel. Like, he was just so awesome, and eventually became the biggest babyface of all time. You know, which shows to me how cool a heel he was. I mean, to me, that's one of the, you know, it's one of the things I look for. Superstar Billy Graham was different because he was too. If he had come along in the '80s, he might have been like a, you know, way bigger national star. But he was too. He kind of started that trend. But Stone Cold for me has to be on the list. So next up.
He has to go on this list.
Yeah.
Has to. If Stone Cold wasn't number one, this person's number one.
Okay.
The Rolex wearing.
Yeah, I like.
Wearing,
yeah.
Kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. That man has
having a hard time holding
like alligators down. Like, he gave some of the greatest promos as a heel. He gave some of the greatest matches as a heel. He did some of the greatest things as a heel. To be called the dirtiest player of the game, and literally be that, and people still love you for years. Ric Flair has literally been wrestling my entire life and then some. like he's still kind of wrestling now, which is kind of weird in a sense. Like, Rick,
he's so like. He's such a cool heel. He's like 75 years old and he's in rap videos. Like, that's how cool a heel. Like,
with Offset, like, of all people, like, just
like Jesus Christ. Like, yeah, he's the greatest of all time. Like, you know, and like
the funniest thing about Ric Flair to me is that no matter what promotion, he doesn't change who he is. It's literally like, you can't. Like, that's how much of a cool heel he is. Is that everybody knows who he is. Like, you can't teach that. Like, there's an episode on Dark Side of the Ring talking about a flight that these guys went on.
Oh, geez. Yeah,
I guarantee you, Ric Flair, the cool heel, damn near flew that plane.
He was known for like walking around in just his robe and his dress shoes. Like, I mean, he was like, yeah, I mean, you just can't teach it. You either have it or you don't.
A real life heel. It was almost a real life heel. It's just like
but everybody wanted to be like him. Everybody wanted to like be like Ric Flair.
They wanted to be even in his aura. They wanted to be in his bubble. Like, just be in the room with Ric Flair was kind of like, baby, I'm in the room with Ric Flair. I'll call you later. That type stuff. Like, Rick was that guy. So, my favorite one of my favorite Flair promos is so awesome. Is one when he's with Tony Schiavone and David Croft. He's like, "Listen, that's why this sport coat costs $800 and that costs $200. I don't know what that costs to be ashamed to wear." That's a fucking amazing line. Like, you know, like, it's money, and he was just money. Like, he was money, and so Ric Flair has to be on the list. So I think we're looking at this, and this is a couple things. We look at the number 5 spot, and I gotta but that leaves one guy off who I think needs to be on this list. But I gotta put the NWO up there. I gotta put them on the list, hands down.
You know. So, but there's another guy
That
who
gets
I think,
mentioned every week,
yeah, I
damn
know.
near, damn near every week. But go ahead, go ahead.
The Rock, like the run he had as Hollywood Rock
Mm-hmm.
was like, come on, it was so like he was trying to be a heel, but how like he was not a heel. He was so like he was that perfect cool heel. Like when he was singing about like the Lakers are gonna beat the Kings in May. So like,
I mean, The Rock had
but
a
is
bunch
that
of
is
his.
that too easy? Is The Rock too easy? Is it almost too easy? I mean, but we have Austin there too. Like I just think I would replace the APA with The Rock as a cool heel.
Um, you could, because the thing about The Rock was he was just too lovable. It was too lovable. Like even in the
Dude,
nation, like
yeah, like
people.
I
The craziest thing about this, and I'm gonna say this live on my podcast. You heard it here first. The Rock almost broke racism back in the day because people were in the nation talking about. I mean, shit, like he was that fucking good because you hated this. All right, there was a group of black radicals running around this wrestling promotion, and you got a bunch of white guys who back here talking about these black folks ain't about to do nothing. And then The Rock gets in it, and then it comes the coolest thing on fucking TV. So cool that a white person gets in after him, i.e., Owen Hart. But at the same time, you know, that's just how they affected The Rock. It bled over into everything. He was so cool that he had to be by himself.
uh
That's how cool
dude,
he was.
I'm 18 years old and it's 98 and The Rock starts doing his thing. And the promos just got better and better. And the best one was Jennifer Flowers at WrestleMania 14,
Okay.
where he just like, you smell what I'm cooking. And he was so fucking just hilarious. As for an 18-year-old kid, I went to the Sky Dome in that July. They didn't have Rock shirts out yet. They hadn't had them yet. So Aaron fucking made me a Rock shirt because I'm like, he's the. I mean, he was so cool. Like you couldn't help but like not love the Rock. So I mean,
Favorite heel
like
moment from The
these are the
Rock. My favorite heel moment from The Rock of all time. When he was in the nation and he gifted everybody them fake ass Rolexes, and then he
yeah
gives Farouk a picture of himself. That shit was fucking hilarious because he drew it out. Like, you know what? The Rock's been getting all this money, and everybody's got to get a piece. Here, I bought everybody these brand new gold Rolexes. Boy, they were all fake as hell. And everybody was like, these are fake ass watches. And then all of a sudden, Farouk pulls out this picture of The Rock framed. Like, you can have that. That is for you. Like, what? What kind of shit is that? Like, that's some cool heel shit. Like, it took some nuts and
he was
guts to
just
do that.
awesome. So we got that list, but I think honorable mentions. So we already put the APA down because I do like that pick. I
Yes.
got another one for honorable mentions I want to put out. It's kind of an older one, but uh, I got to go with the Road Warriors because the Road Warriors started as heels and then ultimately became the biggest baby faces ever. And Jim Cornette talks about kind of how the Road Warriors were booked, and he's like they had to start as heels first. And I think to me that makes them cool heels because nobody was fucking cooler than them. Like at that time, they were the coolest because they were just fucking badasses. So I like to throw the Road Warriors on honorable mention for their cool heels.
Honorable mention, Mr. Perfect.
So yeah, I'd be fine with that. I think
I
he
put him
did
in
so many sensational stuff.
I mean, who else is cooler to throw a football to themselves and just kind of make it look actually fun and doable? Like, ain't no motherfucker who sit up there. Now that's perfect. Like, shut up. Like, it's hilarious that he was just himself. It was refreshing to watch. It was like watching your favorite asshole be an asshole to other people who were assholes too. Like, he would be an asshole to
Yeah,
anybody. It really didn't matter. It could be Flair, it could be Rude, it could be, Nash, it could be Hall, it could be anybody. And it would just be himself, and that was kind of like his persona. So I really
Yeah.
do like him as an honorable mention. I do understand that
I think that's a good one.
no, not all five can make the list, but I think
Yeah.
that the honorable mention list this particular go around was definitely going to be not a long one, but it's going to be one that you can pretty much argue anybody to make the top five.
Yeah. So I got another one I'm going to add to the honorable mention list. Sid Vicious. We've talked about him a lot. I think Sid was a cool heel. Nobody looked like Sid. Like, nobody looked like that guy. And he cut a good promo, and he just, like, watch when he won the belt in New York. Like, people were into him. He had different times in his career, and, so I think Sid Vicious kind of belongs on that list.
I like that. I like her.
He was cool.
Taker was cool. The only thing about Taker is I want to put Taker on the honorable mentions list simply because I felt like he was trying to be a heel the entire time, and it almost never worked.
Well, he was cool. He was cool in '91. Like, when he first came out. I don't have a problem with Undertaker on the list because I think there are a number of times you could add him to any list, and he would be on it. But, like, I remember, like, because I was, when he came out, and he was just different. The gimmick was different, and he was really tall, and Piper put him over, like, strong. Look at the size of that ham, huh?
Wow, yeah.
Look
at the size of that ham, huh?
Like, he's always, like, yeah. And it was just cool. And then they turned him in the whole Jake thing, and he didn't really change much. He just kept doing the same thing. And because the gimmick was, like, my dad always loved that gimmick. He's like, that's fucking perfect. He's like, that's like my dad kind of like gimmicks, which a couple of my buddies would be like, oh, that's where he got it from. But, like, he's like, Paul Bearer as a manager, he's like, that's hilarious. It's brilliant. You couldn't really hate the guy because he was just, a monster. He was dead. But I would add Undertaker. I mean, he's one of those guys who's definitely deserves to be on that list. Another name, he's not going to make the honorable mentions, but I got to mention him. I just got to throw it out there. Jesse the Body Ventura.
Really?
I think, even as a commentator, he was funny. He was like, he said some really bad shit, but he was like, and he always got a good pop. Whenever they introduced him, you got to go. Plus, he was the Predator and shit. Like, so, like, I think I just want to put over Jesse Ventura. But nonetheless, top five here, George. So we got five guys. We got Superstar Billy Graham, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Nature Boy Ric Flair, and the NWO as a unit, and probably Hall, Nash, and Hogan.
The original
three. The original three.
And of course, the reason why I say the original three, and I'm gonna say this on purpose, is Hall, Nash, and Hogan. And of course, when you kind of go four, it's six. And six for me was not cool. Yeah. Not saying that he wasn't cool as a person, but he was not cool while
he got real heat.
He got heat. No. He always got heat.
No.
It's just that
I was talking about Kareem mentioned Ted DiBiase, and I'm like, nah, Ted DiBiase is real heel.
Nah,
like, people fucking hated his ass.
Yeah, people really dislike Ted.
So the NWO, definitely the original three. So I would put Superstar at 5. I think it's fair to put Superstar at 5.
I would say,
but I'm just happy he's on the list. I think he deserves to be on the list. So, like, I think he broke ground at a time when, like, way before the rest of this. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. So
yeah, I agree.
Anyway, but number 4, who do we got? Like,
I got The Rock.
The Rock at number 4. Okay, it's probably not wrong. No, that's good because the fucking numbers ahead of him. I would have the NWO at 3.
At 3, and Ric Flair at 2, and I've had Austin at 1.
Austin at 1, yeah. I mean, you could argue with me Ric Flair at 1. Jesus Christ.
I would argue with you Ric Flair at 1, but the only thing is, like, I know Ric Flair had the Rolex wearing, diamond ring wearing, promo. But
he wasn't a Texas ass
promo. The Austin 316 promo not only took him from being just another wrestler to cool, but like everybody says, it was day and night. Like, one day they came in and they were talking about something else, and then the next night they're over here talking about Austin
I mean,
316. I mean, it's kind of hard to say, Ric Flair didn't have that impact of some overnight stuff, but
yeah,
I feel like Ric Flair's stuff was like fine wine. It was really something that aged well. I mean, it's good at all times. It's something that you can easily revert back to, and it's always going to be the greatest.
like
But Austin was just a sign of the times. Like it kind of brought wrestling to another time.
Mick was very good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mick
Mick was good too. Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, having been lucky enough to have lived in that time, like there was nobody cooler than Steve Austin. Nobody. And I'm not from Texas. But when he was working Bret Hart, is like you knew he was getting over when it was like, even people in Canada were like, we can't, like, they booed him out of the building in Calgary, but like, believe me, I was there in Toronto, and that's a big town for them. It was like 11,000 November, 35 or so in July, and Austin was on top.
Right.
Like, he was so cool. Like, he was an ass kicker. He was, like just had that moxie and just that promo. Just like, he didn't have to say a lot, but it was just like, this guy says it with attitude, man. This guy's different than the plumber.
Like you believe,
like this, like this guy was a real dude. He wasn't like and I think at the time that's what people were clamoring for. Like they were clamoring for more real people. Like because WWF at the time wasn't giving characters. And Derek Bischoff can say what he wants. He started to with the NWO, but I just watched Fall Brawl '95, and I mean, I'm telling you, they weren't cool heels, man. Like the Dungeon of Doom ain't on this list. Like so, he was just so unique. Like because in June '96, you had Austin 316 and the NWO in the same month. It took longer for Austin to get the Rocket. Like it took him a build. Like they had to build him. The NWO was just bam. It was just from the inception. It was like, oh, because Scott Hall could make. If you're talking about the coolest wrestlers of all time, like Scott Hall's probably near or at the top of any list.
Right.
There's like nobody cooler than Scott Hall. No, very few people. But like as a unit,
was Razor Ramon actually becoming cooler, which was insane.
Oh, so awesome.
Which was insane already because you already had a persona who was already ripping it up. And the thing is to kind of leave somewhere else and kind of just use your name. And of course, you kind of used a little bit of the likeness as far as the slick hair and the toothpick. But that was him. So at the end of it all,
yeah, he wasn't a cartoon. He wasn't an occupation, and that's what they talked about in that '95 area. So many guys were occupations. You were a plumber. You were a dentist. You were whatever. But like they had talent. But Hall and Michaels and Bret Hart and Diesel, those dudes stood out because they weren't occupations. Like they had weird names, and Diesel had the kind of Motor City gimmick, whatever. But he was still a person, and they kind of stood out. He wasn't, and so that's like that NWO nucleus together with Hogan. It was wild. It was so cool. My funniest thing of Hogan ever was Halloween Havoc '96, which is an awesome pay-per-view. Yeah. If you've never seen it, you should watch it. It's fantastic. But Hogan came out with like a rug. He had a headband and he had like a rug, and Randy Savage put it on his head, his own head, and then shoved it. He's the world's toughest skunk. I'm like, just hilarious, like pure comedy. It was just pure comedy. But they're on the list. But Stone Cold, I mean, Ric Flair, like Kareem said, Ric Flair could be number one. I mean, Ric Flair is good. I mean, he could be, but I'm not going to say it's a Texas bias because I'm from Canada and I love Stone Cold Steve Austin. So that resonated. It wasn't just that he was a Texan. It was just the attitude. The attitude was just, and people were ready for that at that time. They were so ready. Like, I know I was like, this is kind of getting shitty, because, I watched WWF from every Saturday, probably from when I was like 4 years old to then. It's like, yeah, I'm working. This kind of sucks. But fucking Austin came in. And then The Rock and the other guys who came in. And, it was just fucking awesome. It was an incredible time to be a wrestling fan.
The thing about being a wrestling fan at that time, I'm sure, was kind of just the casual, just everyday, mundane.
Everybody was watching.
And then everybody was watching. Everybody was giving a little bit of time to it. And then, of course, when these certain cool heels kind of hit the screens, money.
Yeah, like
everybody's money. Like everybody you seen come on the screen kind of made you want to watch more. Like, not gonna lie, I almost watched WWE for some segments with The Rock. If I know he was in a feud with somebody, I'm watching that week. If Austin was in a feud with somebody, I'm watching. One of the greatest Austin, moments is one of them during the Alliance when he pulled up in that damn Ford truck and beat the shit out of everybody from backstage to the ring. That's got to be one of the greatest heel moments ever. And he wasn't even a heel at that point.
No, and even when he was during the invasion, and Kareem will love that we mentioned the invasion. He's like the only guy in the world who liked the invasion. But this was a good part. When he was doing the gimmick with the fucking McMahon and he was funny. He was
with the cowboy hat.
I didn't. Yeah, I was like, I still wanted to cheer him. I could never not, eventually boo Steve Austin, but he was a game changer, man. The Rock, you don't know how many times I went to yard sales to try and find, I couldn't afford a $500 shirt, but I was trying to find that $5 shirt, just trying to, because he was one of the coolest people on TV. And I was the Croc, not the Rock. That was what I was. But he was just incredible. He had so much charisma. But
he had
Ric
so
Flair,
much charisma. The thing about him is, remember that promo during the invasion where they had Kurt, The Undertaker, Kane, and McMahon all in one room, and he's trying to hype them all up.
Yeah.
And he's just giving these ad libs that are fucking hilarious just to try to get The Undertaker to laugh. And you can see on The Undertaker's face, this shit is fucking hilarious, but he doesn't want to break character at all. So if y'all got a chance, go back and watch that. One of the best things about wrestling is these are real people. So even they think this shit is funny in real time. So you got to go back and watch this shit.
It's hilarious.
Their facial expressions, some of them can't crack. You see some people turn around. The Usos and Roman Reigns can't keep it together for shit no more. So you can almost kind of guarantee you're gonna see them break camera. But at the same time, it's just some of these heels are so cool that they made the people that they were working with laugh, and they made them feel like, oh, that person's got it. The thing is, it's not the person to tell you that they have it. Everybody else will tell you. The thing about Austin was he never told you I was cool. None of the heels on this list told you, oh, I'm the coolest person in the room. Maybe
he was trying to be the baddest heel in the world.
Right. Maybe Ric Flair said something like that to that, degree. But no one came out and said, oh, I'm the coolest person you've ever seen in your life. No, because all y'all doing stuff is already cool.
Ric Flair did. Ric Flair was 18. He's like, we're going to be at the Marriott in Baltimore, 1835. No husbands, no boyfriends. He's that's what he would say on television. That's ridiculous. The best line I love from Ric Flair's documentary was when it compared him and Hulk Hogan. And he's like, he was selling vitamins and milk. No, I was selling sex and booze.
Right. Just, I don't know.
That's
man.
it.
He's just he probably is number one. Because sometimes you gotta be a heel, off camera too.
I don't know.
He might have just been that. I don't know. I can easily go 1A with them, really, really quickly.
I don't mind making Ric Flair number one. I don't think Stone Cold would mind if we put him on number one. I think Stone Cold would be okay because Stone Cold says that the greatest of all time is Ric Flair. That's what Stone Cold says.
Exactly.
And he would. So I think in that you have to put him on there. But he's Ric Flair. I mean, fuck, he's the nature boy. Just unbelievable. But I'm happy we got Billy Graham on there. I think that's a good pick. I think
Billy
I think
Graham
he's kind of an inspiration somewhere for a lot of these. You know, he was the first guy. I love that we were able to talk about the Road Warriors because, like, they became baby. They were like Steve. They were like Steve Austin. They were like Steve Austin with spikes, basically. You know, so because they were the baddest asses in the world. Like, I got to see them in a little bit in the AWA. It got up here a bit. I think it was up here. And then when we got TBS, obviously, I got to see them. And then they came into WWF. But just badasses who beat the piss out of their opponents. And, you know, but like what a tag team. Like they stood the test of time. You still don't get people that have that charisma of the Road Warriors. Like, I mean, could you imagine if you put out, like, transpose like Hawk and Animal into today, they'd still be over as fuck. Like, their style, you know,
their style of wrestling was
face paint, the face paint, the friggin' that would still get over today. It still gets over. And it's just, but when they were the baddest heels ever, but like they started as heels. But I think we got some great people on that list. I think that this was the list where, okay, who are the coolest heels? Well, the coolest heels become, you know, some of the best baby faces. And like Austin, his heel run was just incredible. But I like this list. I was happy we were able to mention a few people, and it was wonderful time. I don't know where we're going next. We got so many ideas coming up. But we're gonna be back into it next week. We're gonna have another show. We're gonna take a look at the list, see what we have to discuss. Probably still discuss more heels, but I had a great time. I enjoyed it. I loved brought back some fantastic memories. And
you can't go wrong with some of these heel memories. I think some of these memories kind of made you a wrestling fan in a sense. Like, some of these just kind of kept it going. Most of these people on this list, if you didn't have at least one person on the top 5 that you can agree with that belongs in that spot, let me know. Because I'm curious
let me know.
Who y'all love.
I think that's
as a heel. Like, it's a solid list, and I want y'all to kind of look. I always I'm coaching y'all to go ahead and say, go ahead and take somebody down, put them up, and then let me know why. Because at the end of it all, it's going to actually make sense to kind of put where we have these people at. But at the same time, you know, there's always somebody who had an impact on you, maybe more than they had an impact on me. And that's like I say, JBL for me. Everybody else must have hated that motherfucker, but I loved how smug, and maybe because I'm a wrestling fan, and maybe
people did hate him. Like, he was legit. Like, when he had the cowboy hat and the gimmick, people hated him. Like, I love him because he's an incredible heel. He was then. Like, people legit. He had heat. He had a lot of heat. Like, you probably liked him, because you're a Texan, and he was a Texan. But he wasn't like a Stone Cold Texan or like Terry Funk.
Nah, he wasn't like that. But he was just like,
he was
arrogant.
He was an asshole. That's what he was. Like, Kareem, I legit hated JBL. There were people who legit hated JBL. And now you see him on his pod. Well, you know, but like, I don't know. Like, I love the APA though. Like, when they started out as heels, but even when they were heels, like, I'm like, I can't boo Ron Simmons. Like, I could never boo Ron Simmons. Like, even when he was Farouk, like when he was in the Nation, I was like, first of all, thank God they got the helmet off.
Yeah,
but when he was like, when he was saying like what his promos, like, I'm like, that dude meant that shit. Again, he wasn't an occupation. Like, he was like a real dude. He was the first African American heavyweight champion. He had an authority. He was physical. He was strong. And I mean, I remember Ron Simmons from the WCW run. I could never hate Ron Simmons, but like, he was a badass, a real badass. And that's why when people say he's the greatest Florida State football player of all time, and I always tell them it's Ron Simmons. Hey, no question about it.
You can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong with that.
No, that's a definite pick. But you know, like, but those guys were cool. Those guys became really cool. But I love the list. I love this show, and we'll continue. We're gonna have another topic next week. I don't know if we're gonna have the cool heels. We're gonna have a guest. I don't know. We'll see what we got.
Hey,
maybe we'll get a guest on.
Tune into the top 5. Tune into the top 5. We always got something for y'all. We always got somebody for y'all, and it's always somebody good. And we never know. We might have to talk sports here again in a couple weeks because, of course.
Oh, by the way, first of all, we'll end it on that note. Listen, here's the thing: 2-0. against two really tough teams. People whining about the referees all day long. Like I learned about it a few years ago. After the Tampa loss, I started to try and but really last season, I was like, listen, you got to stop. I'm like, John, that's loser's mentality. Can't blame the referees for everything. Shit happens, you lose. You take them on the chin, you go home. Mm-hmm. That's it. You can talk shit going in, but you just say, good job, you got me. But like, don't put us into that position to make plays. But I'm looking forward to this Atlanta game. I think it's a Chris Jones game. I'm putting on the line. Chris Jones has been this close to getting sacks. And it's like Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, two really athletic, mobile guys. So he's really close. Like he's dominating the line of scrimmage. And I mean, Kirk Cousins isn't the most mobile fella. So he's got to get the ball out quick. And it's going to be a tough game. They're really good, really well coached. I mean, I predicted them on this show to go to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, that last drive said, okay, if we see more of that, we'll see. But I think the Chiefs are going to be a little too much. They'll find a way to win it. Again, it might be by 2 points, 1 point.
44 to 20. 44 to 20. Yeah.
44 to 20. What are you talking about?
Hey, I know my team.
I don't even want to.
I know who I believe in. It's 44 to 20.
I think 38-17.
Okay. I'll take that.
Yeah, I think 38-17.
I just don't think Atlanta's getting over 25 points unless we hand it to them.
No, I mean, it's going to be tough. They might. You never know. I mean, we've been having a bit of trouble.
They have the talent.
Tight ends. They have the great talent. But I think that they're going to – but I think our defense is starting to – I mean, they made big. They let we still have that tight end issue, I think, but I think we'll get that solved. We'll figure out a way. Kareem's got 34-16, so we're all around the same ballpark. Definitely a 2 to 3 score win, I think. But who the hell knows? It's the goddamn Chiefs. It could be like down to the wire. But as long as it's a W, I don't care. It doesn't matter. I just want to win. But I think it's set up better. I think the less mobile quarterback. He's got to get the ball out fast. I think their defensive line is going to – they have a good O-line, no. They run the ball really well, too, so we got to watch out for that. Mm-hmm. But I think our corners and our secondary have the ability to cover, except maybe a tight end or two, but I think we'll be able to manage. I think our defense is going to start – when we get Omenihu back, I hope he's on the field for when we go. I hope he's on the field for the fourth.
Charles Omenihu is going to be as complete as it's going to be.
Yeah, if you watch this, please, I please hope November 4th you're on the field. Like he is a monster. That dude's a stud. I felt so bad.
I call him a grave digger. I call them grave diggers because as soon as you line up in front of him, you're dead. Like you're getting worked. You're getting worked.
Like
and he's got to be 100% not necessarily locked in, but he just has to be healthy enough, and it's over for your ass.
He's got to be there, man. And I think he's gonna like. Man, when he gets going, I tell you, that's even people are worried about it. But I'm like, Karlaftis is getting pressures. Jones is getting ton. You see that video of Jones just pushing two dudes out of the way, just shoving them away, just say, "I'm coming." And Joe Burrow had to make a play, of course, But like, he did that. Like he was doing that to the Ravens. He's doing that. Like Atlanta's got a good offensive line, I get, but Chris Jones, he's doing that to anybody. It doesn't matter. He's gonna find a way to make a play. So, and I like our secondary. I like McDuffie is the best corner in football. Hasn't had an interception, best corner in football. Like, nobody's getting by him. Nobody. Jamar Chase, he had that dude.
In a fucking phone booth. Had his ass in a phone booth calling for people.
And Chase is good. I mean, he talks, but he's good. Like, he's killed us a dozen times. But, like, Trent McDuffie's the best corner in football. Jalen Watson's playing really well. Shamari Connor, like Brian Cook, we have good secondary.
Out of his mind right now.
Yeah, I think we'll find a way. You're a little worried about linebacker. I mean, Leo Chenal, though. Jesus Christ. Like, so Leo's I think we have the
missile. Like Leo's a heat-seeking missile. I don't mind him being out there. The only thing I have, as far as worries about linebacker is coverage. sometimes the coverage can
Yeah,
get a little bit lax. But if you run the ball against these linebackers,
that's because the only place they have to
dumbest thing
go
you
is
can
the
do.
tight end because everyone's covered.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think we'll be able to get home. I think Chris Jones is gonna. I think it'll be a primetime game. It's in it's in Atlanta. He's from Mississippi, right? Is that where he's from?
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe he'll have family there. That would
that ain't nothing but a 2-state drive. That's
that would be
like
good.
6 hours at the most.
Yeah, that would be wonderful to have some, to see him do well. He's just because he's been wreaking havoc. Like, may not show on the sack sheet, but that dude is a problem. That dude got paid, and he is. Woo! He got his money too, and I'm happy he got his money. Nobody deserves it more, and he did, and he's playing like it. He's earning his money right now, and I just think he's an issue. Like, I hope Chris Collinsworth slides in, and the first thing he says, like, they got to figure out how to stop Chris Jones. If they don't, it's going to be a long-ass night. Because that's it. And that allows Karlaftis to get in, Dana to make plays. Like, guys are making plays. The defense allowing points a little. The offense is hanging in enough. But, like, listen, I think, I have faith in that offense. I think we'll be able to do it. It's going to be tough. Justin Simmons is playing. So Mahomes is going to throw at least one pick. So, but I think Kelsey's probably going to get more involved. I think you're going to see it. I think, Pat admits he had a bad game the other night. That happens. Come back with a good one. And I think this is a team, Atlanta, who's very, very good. And I think maybe by the end of the year, they're going to really show. But I think right now we're a little bit more ready. And I think we can win it. But, again, I don't gamble for a reason because I'm never right. I would never bet on the Chiefs anyways.
He ain't lying. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if y'all don't know how many text messages I got to my phone about the game last week, I'm just saying, I believe at a different level. Like, I watch football at a different level. I look at the clock. I watch it like I coach it myself. I'm not the perfect coach. I'm not I'm not fucking Don Shula out here and that shit like that. But in my mind, this is how I want it to go. And I can see the Chiefs perform in a certain way. And every time I see them out there on the field, I can kind of feel their energy a little bit as far as how they're playing. If they have a little bit of energy and they can, they're not necessarily giving up the GOAT, I think that the biggest thing that you can actually do for the Chiefs is let them hang around in any sense of the word. Because
you got to bear it.
Whether they're up 2 or down 5, they're going to play you the same way. And that's the thing. Like, teams get lax in certain areas. And when they do that, they kind of let their guard down a little bit. And as soon as you do, Patrick Mahomes will find it. And as soon as he finds it, he's going to exploit it. And when he exploits it, it's going to be like the Chiefs play football like I think about a lot of things. Like their first half, the Chiefs, if they can put up a bunch of points, they will. If they can't, you're going to notice that they're going to play really, really good defense for that first half. Then that third quarter, you're going to see a whole bunch of different shit. And it's going to be really, really good shit that's going to actually be productive for the offense. So I always kind of watch it as like, all right, you got to wait and see what they're going to do because they already have a trauma response to everything.
Yeah.
So
anyway, I tell you what, I'm looking forward to the game, and I'm looking forward to 43 days from now. We're going to arrive in Kansas City, Missouri. Yeah, it's going to be great. I can't wait. Like, I'm so excited. And the clock's ticking. That Nebraska game, Lincoln, we're coming in strong, baby.
We're going to Lincoln, Nebraska, and we're going to go see Dylan Raiola, the Patrick Mahomes-esque gentleman. I think, the funny thing about Dylan Raiola is everybody's like, oh, you're emulating Patrick Mahomes. And he's like, nah, that's not me. Now, Dylan, what do they say about lying when you're little? Like, come on, bro.
I don't care.
It's true. Like, I would love for him to
let him do whatever he wants.
But I'd rather him not lie about it. Like, if you gonna say, yeah, this is kind of his thing, I kind of look like him already, so I kind of adapted it. Totally fine. If you want to be like one of the greatest quarterbacks, but if you want to be like one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league, that's totally fine. But don't sit up here and get up here like, no, I'm doing my own thing. covering up the PM15 shoes that you got on. Like, bitch, come on now. Like, we already know what the hell you're doing. You ain't got to lie to me about it.
Listen,
I ain't nobody.
if this, I mean, he couldn't have picked a better one to emulate, so right?
This is true. This is true.
But I'm so excited for that, Lincoln. Like, that's insanity to me. Like, for a couple of fucking Canadian fellas to end up in a Lincoln, Nebraska to watch the Cornhuskers play the Bruins on a Saturday. I don't even know when the game is, but like, man, that's cool. That's going to be fun. That's going to be awesome. And I hope they're still cooking by then. I hope they're like whatever it is, like 6-0 or whatever. I hope they're still beating the brakes off teams. I hope they do that night. I hope we see some crazy throws.
I'm looking forward to some crazy throws. I'm looking forward to a lot of different schemes because college football is a lot different. So we're gonna watch a whole bunch of shit that they never gonna do in the NFL. They do in college. Like some of the formations that they run in college, they could never get away with in the NFL because there's defenses in the NFL that snap and cut that shit off immediately just because of the skill. So it's a lot. It's gonna be a lot more fun to kind of watch some college football, just to kind of be in the stadium, just get into that atmosphere, scream and throw up the X's and stuff, do all the things that people in Nebraska do for Nebraska Cornhusker football. So I'm all for it. I'm ready to kind of see it myself. Just kind of get out there.
Yeah.
Like I'm about to be a Cornhusker fan in the camera, like with gold teeth, just screaming random shit. All that, just getting hype. Like I'm gonna tell you right now, if I get caught on camera a couple times that weekend, it won't be a surprise. It won't be. But at the same time, I think that's gonna be just one of those experiences that we kind of enjoy. Like just kind of getting out there and being able to kind of just get in it. Like that's one of the things that I always want to do. Just get some friends, go ahead and get in it. So I'm ready. I'm excited. I'm excited to go. I'm ready to be there already.
I can't wait. Anyway. Thank you for everyone for joining us. We appreciate it. Have a good night, George.
Good night to you
Adios,
all.
amigo.
Like, share, subscribe. See y'all soon.